the coffee shop has evolved from so much more than just a place to buy coffee. In the past few decades, it's evolved into a meeting place, a place for the exchange of ideas and even theories. And no longer is it just in the busy city center or in the areas of commerce. Lewis and Steen's New Orleans coffee shop is located along the pristine western coast of New Providence. It's a place where you can get great refreshments as well as have a great refreshing view. It's also the site of our show today. Today we're looking at our common future, the Bahamas of tomorrow. Over the next hour or so, we're going to be talking to the future of the Bahamas. 4 young men, all students of St. Anne's High School, who are bound for college and concerned about their country in many ways. In this first segment, I'm happy to have with me 2 of my 4 guests, Kai Duncombe and Jordan Desmangles. Gentlemen, welcome to On the Record.
Thank you.
We are in a great place today where we're going to have a great discussion. We're better to have a discussion about the future than sort of the future of what I call discussion, a coffee house.
Right.
But I want to tell our audience really who you are and how you got to be here. Kai Duncombe, you're a 12th grader at St. Anne's High School. You want to study law and criminal justice. You were inspired, you say, about 2.5 years ago by a movie called Marauders. The movie motivated you to pursue a career in special forces like the FBI, CIA, but particularly parallel to those agencies here in the Bahamas. And Jordan Desmangles, also a 12th grader at St. Anne's and a member of the prestigious Gentlemen's Club. You're a senior prefect and an active member of the Key Club, Anchor Club and Interact Club, vice president of finance for your Junior Achievement Club, and you want to pursue a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, but first an associate's degree at the University of the Bahamas. Later, you said, going on to the University of Houston. Gentlemen, that's a packed resume even at your age. First of all, let's start by, why is a show like this important to you? And I've got to tell folks the backstory. They contacted me about coming on the show. We had a meeting and I decided, hey, I think they have some important stuff to say. Why is a show important like this for you to be able to talk to the public, to your peers, and even to the leaders of our country?
Well, I'd say firstly, we want to do a lot, and sometimes we don't have a way of reaching out to the people we should. So we felt that this was the perfect place for us to voice our concerns, a place where we can be open, honest, and actually tell the truth as to what we want to do and what's going on about in Nassau, the Bahamas.
Just Nassau?
In the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the things that you worry the most about as a 12th grader? My mother always used to say to me when I was in school, you have nothing to worry about. You're in school. Basically, nothing can be impacting your life so significantly. But we've learned that that's not always true. So what are the things that are important to you right now?
Well, firstly, what is important is what's next? What after high school? What is there to do for me? What is my future looking like? What are my plans for the future? What do I plan to do? What do I plan to take up? And how do I go about achieving these goals that I set for myself?
What's really important to me is making a change to be more than a doer but an overcomer in every aspect of my life. Going to school, finishing, doing well, representing not only my country but my family, myself. So that's what's really important to me as I leave for school.
When you look around in your everyday life, what are the things that trouble you about your country and your environment?
For me, being business-minded and open-minded at the same time, the current state of the economy and crime, which is one of our major concerns in the Bahamas, both of those go on and on with me because crime deters business for the country. It breaks down the economy. It not only leads tourists to not come to the Bahamas, but for tourism being our #1 industry, that's what we should look at. Instead of, trying to tackle other things, this is what's most important for bringing revenue inside our economy and for just sustaining the economy. So the current state of the economy is my concern because what happens if we fail?
When you say state of the economy, you don't think the economy is doing well. You don't think the country is doing well.
For a developing nation, the economy is kind of in a stable state. It could be a lot better, but at the same time, the rate at which we are moving, it could get a lot worse.
You mentioned, what if it fails? Do you ever think about that?
Well, I don't want to, but yes, because it not only leaves me to think about what are my future, what about my children's future. So if we don't put a stop to a lot of things that are happening now, will there be, or will generations that come be able to benefit from what we did? But one of my main concerns is wasted talent. We have so many persons filled with potential, but it's just getting it out of them. We have persons who can play sports, we have persons who can speak, but their talent just falls by the wayside because of, I'd say, lack of initiative, lack of drive, lack of persons believing in them. So I'd say that's one of my most biggest concerns.
You mentioned something very interesting. The lack of opportunity, the lack of drive. Now, we could sit there and say, hey, I'm not getting the opportunity, or you can sit there and say, hey, I'm just not pushing hard enough. Do you think it's a combination? Do you think young people have the drive to get what it is that they want? Because the reality is nobody hands you anything in life. You know, you get where you are because you have to work hard.
So it depends sometimes. Sometimes people have the drive to do certain things.
What do you feel though? Do you feel that your generation and your peers have the drive?
With my generation, I feel like we are a lot laid back, and we feel like we grew up with a silver platter, a spoon in our mouth, and we like to be spoon fed. And so what we should focus on more is achieving our goals on our own and not looking for handouts.
We have the drive. It's just we need more than one person to believe in us. If I want to do something, right, and I'm the only person who believes in it, I have strong beliefs that what I'm doing is the wrong thing or I'm going about it the wrong way. But if I have a group of people behind me supporting me, I feel that I can conquer the world.
Do you have that support? Do you feel like you have, your parents naturally are going to support you. So let's take them out of the equation for a minute. But do you feel like you get that support? Do you get that support from community, from country, from government, from other? Do you feel like as a young person you have that support to go out and do what it is that you want to do?
No, I don't. A few weeks ago, we had a gentleman's club meeting, and I had to speak about should the government invest more in sports, persons in sports. And I spoke and I said, yes, but do they do it? No. Persons, like I said before, talents are wasted because the government doesn't believe in its people. If the government doesn't believe in its people, who will? That's the question. I feel that I don't have the support to do what I want to do because in certain areas of my life, there isn't enough things that I can get done on my own. I need help. No man is an island.
Do you feel like you are prepared for the next stage of your life? And by preparation, I mean, you know, you're in school, so you get the academic, so-called the academic preparation. Is that enough? And do you feel prepared for what's going to happen come June when you are done with school?
Well, for me, high school really doesn't prepare you for what is to come here in the Bahamas, because our curriculum sends us to UB. That is the University of Bahamas is the next step for the Bahamian curriculum. Whereas many people decide to go off or right off after they finish high school, and what hits them when they reach to places like Canada or maybe Europe or the US, what happens is they find themselves stuck because some things or most things that they're going to cover, they've never covered in the Bahamas because the curriculums are two different things. And then when you reach there, it's just, you're not prepared, you're unprepared when you reach there.
You're preparing to go off, eh?
Yes, sir.
What are you going to do?
Okay, so to prepare myself mentally for it and for the academic part, I went through all of the courses with my recruiter, the recruiter for the Bahamas, which is Garrett White at at St. Mary's University in Halifax. And so he guided me through the process of what to expect and what courses I will take up. And we went through a brief overview of what the courses entail, just so I would know what to expect when I come there.
Jordan, you're going to go to the University of the Bahamas, right? What are you expecting, and how do you think your experience will be different?
I would say my experience would be different. Obviously, that um, I'm from here. That's a different culture. He doesn't know what he's gonna incur when he reaches over there. But I would say my experience would be overall different because I wouldn't be completely blind sham as to my degree. I want to do civil engineering, and my dad is a civil engineer. So I feel that I have the support. And it's that support that makes me feel that I can do it. And that's all I need.
Do you think for a lot of your peers, the University of the Bahamas is the proper path? And let me tell you why I asked that question. For a lot of my friends who would have gone to then the College of the Bahamas, it was just an extension of high school. They got a real shock when they were done with that and then went off. Do you think the university is going to give you enough of that separation that you will need?
Separation as in?
When you go off to university, when you go off, you're away from home, you're on your own. A lot of students, you know, mommy and daddy still taking you to school,
Yeah.
you're still, it's like an extension of high school.
Right. I agree. It doesn't give teenagers a sense of responsibility. Yes, you still have to go to school. Yes, you still have to get your classes. You have to go to your class. You have to get your work done. But in terms of living on your own and being dependent on you, it's lacking in that area.
Do you think your country has let you down in some ways?
Well, in different aspects, yes, they do let me down.
In what aspects? Let's talk about this.
Okay, when it comes to opportunities and what we have in the Bahamas, as in terms of resources, we lack resources, and I understand that it's a developing nation, and so not all the resources will be there all the time. But we have opportunities to get resources, and sometimes we just fail to do so or opt not to. And so the other day we had a discussion with our math teacher. His name is Kerry Duncan at Tanaan School, and he's currently studying psychology, doing a PhD in psychology. And so he told us that he's not from the Bahamas, he's a Guyanese, but he said that the Bahamas has to find a way to maintain its best and brightest. And so far, in my eyes, the Bahamas has not found a way yet to maintain its best and brightest. Most of our people that graduate head of the class, valedictorian, we send them off, and the government gives these scholarships for them to go off, but we don't maintain them. They don't usually come home because after they've received a master's or a PhD in certain areas, they don't feel like there's enough money to come back home to, or sometimes there's not even a job for them to find when they come back home.
Have you seen that? Those who have graduated ahead of you, who have left and gone on and done other things,
Definitely.
they're missing?
It's a matter of wherever they are, valuing them more. I feel that the country that we're in takes what it has for granted. We have so much potential, like I said earlier, but when other persons capitalize on that potential and they actually grab us, we're treated better than we're treated at home. We're paid more than we're at home. So life, I would say, is better over there than here because you win all around.
What about love of country and nationalism and, you know, the Bahamas for Bahamians, and what happened to that?
That is a hot take, but at the end of the day, truthfully, you have to do what's best for you, not only for you, but for future family and such and so on. So most of the time in life, you're pushed to make the executive decision. So you have to do what's best for you at the end.
Gentlemen, we're at the point of our first break in the show. My two guests for this segment, Kai Duncombe and Jordan Desmangles, we are coming to you from Lewis and Steen's New Orleans coffee shop on West Bay Street. It's the best seat in the house. Stay with us. On the Record is back right after this.
On the Record is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Expectations. My service is always on point. I never really have any problems. And if there is a network problem, I'm promptly texted, and so I'm alerted to know that there is a problem. A lot of my customers are tourists, and being in a different country, they don't have any phone service. So most of them are looking for Wi-Fi. And I love to include Wi-Fi with my customer package. So if you are a client of Energy, you're sitting here and you're surfing while you're waiting, or even as you're getting your services done. My name is Ileana, the Henna Queen of the Bahamas, and I believe in best.
What if there was a place at the crossroads of Nolens and Nassau, where the bold coffees of Asia, Africa, and South America are paired with the spicy, savory flavors of the South, where authentic Cajun Creole fare is always cooking and love is always brewing. A crossroads for friends and family, where business and pleasure, they're all the same, where cosmopolitan meets Caribbean, where the exotic and everyday combine. Lewis and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House. Exquisite specialty coffee. Delicious Cajun fare. Come see what's brewing all year round at 809 West Bay Street. Lewis and Steen's. Brewing smiles, brewing family, brewing love in every cup. Lewis and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House.
You know, Matt, where in the world is Matt Lauer? Where in the world is Ellison Greenslade? And so these about the low value cost in Atlanta. So we can talk about it.
More on the record tonight. The government's purchase of the Grand Lucane is a hot subject in the news. We're going to...
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home. With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you. Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want, place your order, and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax to our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, shouldn't it be?
This portion of On the Record is brought to you by Generali Insurance Company Limited, your employee benefit specialist.
On any given day, Lewis and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House is the site where you can get some great coffee. It's also the place where you can get great seafood gumbo and sweet potato pancakes. And of course, great conversations. We're getting all of that here today and lots more as we have one of the most important conversations in the country. Our common future, the Bahamas of tomorrow, is our topic on the record today. My guests, Kai Duncombe and Jordan Desmangles. Gentlemen, our economy remains heavily dependent on tourism and financial services. It's been that way, I mean, long before you came along, long before I came along. We are in many ways the victims as well as we're enjoying the successes of these things. But do you see a place in this economy for you and for your generation and what you're doing? And when I say a place, I don't just mean a job, but a place.
Well, for me, like you said, it doesn't really only depend on your job, because in the Bahamas, crime is a major issue. And so me studying criminology, it's easy to come back and get a job. Will that fit my future family or the family I wish to have in the future? Will the Bahamas, will my wife find a job? Will there be opportunities for my children in the long run? I don't think so.
Well, for me, it'll be, my mom always tells me to find my niche. Find my niche. So, do I feel that there's a place for me? No, I don't. I don't feel supported. I can't see myself actually staying here. That's personally. Personally, I just can't see myself. I feel that I will be a fool too.
You will be.
A fool too.
Really?
Yes.
What would get you to stay? What would get you to change your mind?
Maybe if I'd say more money. More money. More money will get me to
But
stay.
you haven't started making money yet.
I know, but I mean, okay, in my decision as to what I wanted to do in my future career, I actually had to change. I couldn't let myself get caught up in emotions.
What did you want to do?
I wanted to do business and finance.
So
Business is in
why
me.
did you change?
Why did I change? Okay. A lot of persons our age feel that you have to do what you love. I have a different take on it. You may not agree, but this is just my take. I realize that I can't get caught up in emotions because emotions is not going to pay me. Not bashing any other industry. Let's just say I like to draw. I want to be an artist. Every piece that I sell is not going to be that piece. So, as much as I love to draw, drawing isn't going to give me the money. Drawing isn't going to give me the life that I deserve. Drawing isn't going to support me and my family. So at the end of the day, I chose engineering because not only that it makes money, people have a respect for it. So I feel that I will be well on my way.
So you're okay with abandoning what you love?
Not so
Or
much
what you want.
abandoning what I love, but I know that I will learn to love engineering. I know that.
You've chosen a career because of something you were inspired by. Is it the same for you? Is it, I'm going to choose this because I think I'm going to do well off, or you have this chosen field because it's something you want to do?
Okay, well, really, I have a love for solving things, solving problems. I'm good in math. I like to solve problems. I like to read about mysteries. I just like to solve things, and so I do puzzles and other things. Just get into the bottom of situations is what I want to do. And so criminology is something I would really love to do. I like it a lot. I watch a lot of Law and Order. You may find it funny, but I watch a lot of Law and Order, Special Victims Unit.
Yeah.
And at first I wanted to do that until I found out that it wasn't a real thing. So criminology is a study, and then what my dream job is to become a Mountie. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a Canadian.
On the horses.
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so a Mountie is basically the FBI, but in Canada.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that, but thank you for sharing that.
So
I was always
that's
the
my
guy on
dream
the
job.
horses, but go
So
ahead.
I love criminology. I love solving crimes, and I just love to be a detective.
I just want to circle back to you, Jordan, and because I always have a different take. I always tell young people, pursue what you love, because you have to get up for the rest of your life and go after. You have to go on a job every day. You have to get up every morning, and you have to be motivated and inspired by that. But I'm taken aback that even at this stage in your life, you have made the determination that I'm gonna do what I think is gonna make money and get me the respect I deserve.
Why? Is because I understood at a very young age that life is unforgiving and it owes you nothing. So I must do what I may in order for me to position myself in the right place for me to be successful. So if that means putting what I love aside and actually going for gold rather than silver, and that's just the risk I'm going to have to take.
It's a different perspective. Nothing wrong with
I
it, but
know.
it's a different
I know.
perspective. I
I know.
respect you for standing
I know.
by it. Tell me what it is. What are the things that your generation is plugged into? For me, it was satellite TV. It was really the explosion of television that changed my life and the lives of those in my generation. I'm the MTV and VH1 generation, and we're satellite and cable TV. What is it that you all are plugged into?
Well, for me, it's technology and social media. Technology on the whole, not just TV, rather
People barely watch
phones,
TV.
phones, laptops. You know, like to watch movies on Netflix. They don't really do the TV thing anymore, and so
As you said on the TV show. Go ahead.
and so it's like for us, it's social media. Our life revolves around social media. If you want to know about a person, you can find out about them just by going on social media. You could go on Facebook and search up their name and you could find everything. Almost their daily routine you could find on social media like Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat. You could go on and see that they post almost everything. And most times, almost every situation they get in, they post about.
So let me ask you this. One of the criticisms, though, of the social media generation is that you're not in reality in many instances. A lot of times people put forth a persona. They put forth something that they want people to see or they want to be liked, and it's not necessarily who you are. When I sit face to face with you, I get to see, know, understand you. But social media doesn't always give you that, and people sometimes live an illusion.
No one is themselves, and everything isn't what it seems. We have a lot of people on social media living a life that is foreign to them, and they try and put on a facade as they live a certain way, or they're supposed to do this or they're supposed to do that. That isn't so. We have a lot of people in the social media world who are, I would say, figures that persons our age would look up to, and they're not doing the right thing. But because I feel that social media has shaped the world's perspective, and that's how people are living.
Are you comfortable with that?
Not really. For me, I like to be more upfront, personal, and close. I don't really like to speak over social media because what you put out there, you could never get back. You can't take it back. Well, people always say when you say something, you can't take that back also. But it's like I can apologize to you face to face rather than over social media, because you could feel the genuineness of my apology face to face, rather than if I did you something over social media and I apologize, you could just take it for anything.
Do you, for me, I notice a lot of times I go places and you'll have 10 young people there and you're doing this the whole time. Do you feel that you lack that human interaction? Does it affect the way you interact with each other? I could talk to you wonderfully on social media. Me and you can go in Facebook chat or Instagram direct messenger, or we can exchange, or I can like. Oh, that's a whole different world. But when you get face, does that affect the way that you interact?
Definitely. We have a lot of people hiding behind the screen. I always say that, let's just say if I want to meet a girl, I could always get through to a girl in person rather than social media, because I actually get that eye contact. I get to know the real you. That's what it is.
For me, it affects your social behavior sometimes, because most times we be antisocial by standing in amongst people and just on our phones, when sometimes people talking directly to us and we don't get it because we're so deep into our conversations or so deep into what we're doing on the phone. And so this could also affect your social behavior in a way that you're sort of afraid or frightened to speak in public, because all your interactions are over social media and over the phone. You more so scared to speak to someone when you see them face to face.
And how do you think that's going to pan out for you in a couple of years? I mean, when you have to now enter the workforce, you have to deal with people, on a job. You have to interact with people for your business or whatever you intend to do, when you're so accustomed to communicating electronically.
I would say communication is key, and we must learn that.
Are you learning it?
Definitely.
Are you learning in school how the social norms and how to socially interact?
Yes and no. Of course we're learning how to interact in school, group projects, group assignments, work with a partner. But other areas in my life particularly, I know what it is to interact. Particularly between me and my mom, we'd always talk. You could ask Guy, in school, I talk to everyone possible. Everyone I try
You may
to...
be the exception.
Yeah, I try to talk to everyone because I believe in investing in people's lives because person's always invested in mine.
My experience is, and I'm involved in some programs with young people, that we are, as a people, we don't necessarily always have the right social skills. We're not able to always socially interact outside of our circles. We're fine with our friends and even family, but when it's time to go on a job, or when it's time to represent ourselves, or even just speak normally in public, we're unable to do that.
Okay, so in our school, we have a class called Careers in grade 12. In grade 10 and 11, it's still family life. But what we do is from grade 9 at St. Anne's, you go on what we call job study or work shadow or job shadow. You shadow a job that you would like to pursue in the future. And it teaches you how to build these skills, how to communicate your skills, because people sometimes have these skills but don't know how to communicate them. We recently had our seniors retreat on the weekend, this past weekend. And on Saturday, we had a group of speakers. The first were past scholars at St. Anne's School.
They forget to call me, eh?
I just,
It's for the year, I think it's 1989.
yeah, they do it by decades.
I understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would have just, I missed it last year. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just kidding. Go ahead.
So there was this gentleman named Mr. Wong,
Still on.
and he dealt with IT at
Doctor's
Doctor's Hospital.
Hospital.
And he was saying that he was on the verge of getting fired because he had the right skills, but he didn't know how to communicate.
He said that.
And he was working at a desk where, concierge, I would say, where you have to meet and
Communicate.
talk with people and help them. And he didn't know how to do this. And then he was just like, you know, major crisis caused people to lose jobs. And at that time, 9/11 occurred. And so he just ended up
Massive layoff.
losing his job just because he didn't know how to communicate the skills that he already had.
Think you all get that message?
We got that message, and it was already a learning experience coming into grade 12, doing all these job shadows and studying these jobs and how to do certain things.
I want to talk, I'm going to save sort of a bit of the difference in learning and education. I help you this 4 week. In your estimation, what are the things that are dividing our country? And even in your generation, there is a divide. What are the things that you think are dividing us as a people?
Well, in one, I think it's social class. In any country, I believe that there's a social divide between upper class, lower class, and maybe in the Bahamas how we have the middle class. Everybody, most of the Bahamians seem to lie in what we call the middle class, where we can manage our daily lives. We have enough to do and to live daily, but we don't have resources in abundance. So we lie in the middle class. And so I think most times the people that have these resources and are in sort of the upper class, they look down on people in the middle class and worse, the lower class in some instances. And in most cases, that's what I think divides a country, social class.
You see a lot, you think we have a lot of that here? Do you see a lot of that in the Bahamas?
Well, on a daily, usually, I do. Well, we have pairs that do that at school sometimes. And so, you know, the people that have more money than others would sometimes look down on others and, you know, sometimes discriminate against them.
Social segregation.
Explain.
You will never see, for instance, you will never see a millionaire coming to talk to someone who is less fortunate than them about how they became a millionaire. So you have persons, I would say, who think that they're better than anyone, and they wouldn't lead the way. In order for them, they keep what they have inside. They don't share.
Good point. Gentlemen, I want to, first of all, thank you for spending this time. Thank you for initiating this conversation as well. And I have to give you all credit. You know, I have to put in a disclaimer. I am a very proud St. Anne's graduate, so I was very
Yes.
happy to do this.
Louis.
Yeah.
Louis.
all my other friends are going to kill me after the show tonight. But gentlemen, all the best to you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good
you.
work. And thank you for being brave enough to come here and talk. A lot of people like yourselves have a lot of ideas and concerns but don't want to express them publicly. So we thank you for coming on a TV show that your generation doesn't watch a lot of. But thank you. Hopefully those watching will have heard you and will take note. Thank you very much. So stay with us. When we come back, we are going to talk to the other side of this group. We're going to continue this discussion here from Lewis and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true, and open debate they've been looking for.
And the icon goes to On the Record.
On the Record was born out of a desire to do something different. What we do every day helps our country, it helps our society, it helps to shape the views and opinions.
Listen, what is more dangerous than corruption?
We've got to move very quickly. Let's wrap up.
Integrity.
It's all on the record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our discussion begins on the other side of this break.
Are you afraid to swipe your card and you don't like to carry cash? If so, you need checks. Executive Printers can make checks for all your needs. They have laser checks, personal checks, continuous checks, and more. All checks have up to 15 security features, so you know you'll be protected. You can even customize your checks. Come and see one of our experts today, or log on to epbahamas.com for more info.
What if there was a place at the crossroads of Nolens and Nassau, where the bold coffees of Asia, Africa, and South America are paired with the spicy, savory flavors of the South, where authentic Cajun Creole fare is always cooking and love is always brewing. A crossroads for friends and family, where business and pleasure, they're all the same, where cosmopolitan meets Caribbean, where the exotic and everyday combine. Lewis and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House. Exquisite specialty coffee. Delicious Cajun fare. Come see what's brewing all year round at 809 West Bay Street. Lewis and Steen's. Brewing smiles, brewing family, brewing love in every cup.
West and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House.
Every time I'm in the Bahamas, I use Rev Go Play.
Got that food. It's packing. Here he comes.
Yo.
Wait, Omar coming?
Boy, this Rev Go Play, solid.
Rev, you and us together.
And welcome back. In a few weeks, students nationwide begin taking the BGCSE examinations. In many instances, these national exams will help to determine what is next in the lives of many of our high school students. But have we prepared our children for life after high school beyond just the academics? This week, we are talking to the next generation of Bahamians. According to Forbes 2015, the generation after the millennials Generation Z are those who are born from the mid-1990s into the early 2000s. Our topic, rightfully so, our common future, the Bahamas of tomorrow. Our location, Lewis and Steens on West Bay Street, that's in the Love Beach area, which serves the best po' boys, which is the New Orleans version of Slam Bam. Every Bahamian should know what that is. My guests for this segment, I'm very happy to have Mr. Charles Hamilton Jr. and Caden Mott. Gentlemen, welcome. Tell the audience just a little bit about you. Charles Hamilton, you were appointed as the first Junior Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture in October of 2016, an avid pianist. You play guitar and violin as well, a karate green belt, linguist and investor. Where do you find time to sleep? You recently founded a financial consultancy geared towards increasing financial literacy amongst Bahamians. It's called Argo, correct?
Yes.
All right. And Caden Mott, you're a prefect at St. Anne's, a swimmer. You enjoy classical piano as well. Got two pianists here. Great music. Recently started an online business. You aspire to be a car designer. You have your sights set on Minnesota State, where you want to pursue a degree in automotive engineering and design.
Yes.
I'm sitting with the entrepreneur, so I want to, first of all, tell me about your business. Let's start talking, Charles, about Argo.
Well, when I won the National Spelling Bee in 2015.
You won the National Spelling Bee too?
2015.
Wow, okay.
We went to Washington. It was me against 19 girls. And on the trip to Washington, I was exposed to a multitude of people and persons who were interested in finance as well. And I had my first bout with blockchain currency and cryptocurrencies and foreign exchange. And I fell in love with it ever since. And I realized always that Bahamians had a deep misunderstanding of the financial sector. Poor financial responsibility.
You know, we think that's like the pyramid scheme, right?
Yeah, of course.
And if you know anything about the pyramid scheme, a lot of Bahamians lost a lot of money in that. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes. And so education on all facets, financially and both standardized education, are both extremely important to Bahamians and how we should live, how we should learn. And there was no financial consultancy that actually helped those that did not know about finances. And so I educate as well as empower at the same time. So that was my goal.
That's a lot for someone at your age. And you're still in school?
Yes.
Great. All right. So Caden, tell me about your online business.
So, well, in around 2016, I was exposed to this online, I guess you can call, world, where you just buy and sell products to other people around the world without ever seeing the product, right? It's called dropshipping. So what I would do was start or open a online store. I would design it, put products on it, list them, and then once I receive an order, I would go to a supplier, order the product, have it shipped to their location without me ever touching the product, and I would just keep the profit.
I'm sitting here in amazement that you all, even at this age, thought to get into your own business. Why? I mean, what inspired you to do these things? I mean, when I was coming out of St. Anne's, I was thinking about all kinds of other things. Probably involved in all kinds of other things. But you all, that amazes me. What drove you to, in both instances, want to get involved in your own business?
Well, me personally, ever since I was like extremely small, all my family members, parents, godparents, uncles, aunts, like they always would be like, Kaden, you're gonna be rich. And I was just like,
I'm in the wrong family.
Well, okay then. But I never actually thought like it was possible until specifically we took 2 trips. We took a trip to New York and Canada. And those were my first 2 real big trips that I could remember without being young. And I realized that there's a whole different lifestyle that's possible and that can be accomplished outside of just Nassau, outside of just the Bahamas. That it doesn't hurt to think big. Like, do not limit yourself to just working for someone, but rather you can work for yourself and you can make $1 million. Because if I was to tell you, make $1 million by the end of the year, you'd be like, what?
Okay, no, we can talk about that afterwards. Yeah, definitely.
So,
well, for me to kind of branch up what Caden said, I think the biggest motivator for us was simply freedom. We wanted the freedom to live on our own terms, the freedom to be able to wake up when we want to, do what we want to, and the freedom to pursue the Generation Z dream necessarily, to be your own boss, to be your own person in many different ways. And also, what Caden said, I don't know about him, but I know it's not just about the money, it's about, I like a challenge. And because there's a lack of opportunity for young people in business and a lack of respect, I saw fit to take on that challenge and challenge the status quo and what was standardized. And
Why do you say a lack of opportunity and respect?
Well, essentially, I am a business person, and I know for a fact that in meetings, etc., people do not take young people seriously. Despite your education, despite your ability, despite your competence, it will not take you seriously. And that's a serious kind of socioeconomic disorder we have as a people. And that's something we need to change.
A socioeconomic disorder. Wow, I like that term. I did some research on the whole Generation Z thing, because obviously I'm coming to talk to you also. I had to be up on my facts. But according to Generation Z marketing strategist Deep Patel, the newly developing high-tech and highly networked world has resulted in an entire generation thinking and acting more entrepreneurially. Generation Z desires more independent work environments. As a matter of fact, 72% of teens say they want to start a business someday. Is that a true representation of your generation?
From what I could say, I totally agree. It's because of the attitude that we have built up over periods of time, with the introduction of technologies that empower us from the earliest of ages. We see 6-month-olds using tablets now, and there's really a paradigm shift that's happening with young people, and I would think that Generation Z is a part of that.
I also feel, particularly the reason why I've been so exposed to this information is because we have the world in the palm of our hands now through our phones, and instead of us working for our phones, we make them work for us. So the easy access to education, everything is on YouTube, everything is on Google. If you want to know something, just go search it up, learn it, educate yourself, and besides money, you could just create an entire lifestyle of freedom for yourself.
I gotta ask you this. I sit here and I listen to you and the two gentlemen who were here before you, and you're a great representation of the school, not just because I'm a graduate of the school, but you're a great representation just even how you present yourself. But when you look at some of your counterparts in the public schools, are they of the same mindset and thinking of you? And if not, what has happened? What has made you different, standing to think the way that you do and to pursue the things that you are pursuing even at this age?
Well, necessarily there is no major difference, but the truth is, it's not the lack of ability, it's not they're not thinking that way, but it's a lack of exposure. To realize that the classism system of this country kind of segregates people into different regions and most divisive statuses. And with that being said, people don't feel as if they are empowered enough, or they don't have the ability because of their means to do so. And so when one is hopeless, one thinks hopelessly and wouldn't even allow themselves to latch onto the kinds of dreams that both Caden and I have been fortunate enough to be able to perform and to talk to our parents about.
Were you always exposed to those opportunities as a young boy? Was that ingrained in you that, hey, this is not all that there is in the world? I mean, you mentioned your trips, but even prior to that, because obviously it's a mindset.
Well, personally for me, even though we were middle class, we weren't rich, So my parents, they would take us, to nice restaurants, or they would take us to, Atlantis or Ocean Club sometimes, like on occasions, very special occasions,
I don't go to Ocean Club that often.
But I say that because though we had a comfortable lifestyle, we realized that there still is another level that can be attained. Like if you see someone pass you on the road inside of a Ferrari, you'd be like, well, why can't I be driving a Ferrari as well? It's like, these things are here, people have them, why can't I have it too?
Gentlemen, we're going to put a plug in this discussion. When we come back, we are going to continue on the record, coming to you from on location at Lewis & Steen's New Orleans Coffee House. Stay with us, we're back right after this.
What if there was a place at the crossroads of Nolens and Nassau, where the bold coffees of Asia, Africa, and South America are paired with the spicy, savory flavors of the South, where authentic Cajun Creole fare is always cooking and love is always brewing. A crossroads for friends and family, where business and pleasure, they're all the same, where cosmopolitan meets Caribbean, where the exotic and everyday combine. Louis and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House. Exquisite specialty coffee, delicious Cajun fare. Come see what's brewing all year round at 809 West Bay Street. Louis and Steen's, brewing smiles, brewing family, brewing love in every cup.
West End and Seas, New Orleans Coffee House.
My services with Alive has been just excellent. The company has exceeded my expectations. My service is always on point. I never really have any problems. And if there is a network problem, I'm promptly texted, and so I'm alerted to know that there is a problem. A lot of my customers are tourists, and being in a different country, they don't have any phone service. So most of them are looking for Wi-Fi. And I love to include Wi-Fi with my customer package. So if you are a client of Energy, you're sitting here and you're surfing while you're waiting, or even as you're getting your services done. My name is Ileana, the Henna Queen of the Bahamas, and I believe in best.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home. With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you. Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want, place your order, and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax to our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, shouldn't it be?
Hello and welcome to On the Record, and the balanced, true and open debate you've been looking for. Welcome to our final segment on the record. We're coming to you from on location today at Louis and Steen's New Orleans Coffee House on West Bay Street near lovely Love Beach, properly named. Our topic today, our common future, the Bahamas of tomorrow. My guests, Charles Hamilton Jr. and Caden Mott, both the students of St. Anne's High School, preparing to graduate and go out into the real world, we call it. Well, from what we've been hearing, you've already had quite a bit of a taste of the real world. You guys have done what it took me 40 years to do. It's not my own business, but hats off to you. Back to some information about Generation Z, which you represent. I mean, we hear a lot about millennials, which is the generation before you. But today, relevant is constantly being refined, and Generation Z lives in a world of continuous updates. Generation Z processes information faster than other generations, thanks to apps like Snapchat and Vine. Thus, their attention spans might be significantly lower than millennials. You're pegged to have short attention spans. How does that work in a world that requires focus?
Well, ironically, the access to information operates in almost an antagonistic way to the ability to hold up information, which is a very scary thing when you look at it. And the thing about this new world with new technological advances is that we are kind of making ourselves redundant to a certain degree. And all that ties into our attention spans, because in this new world, more will be required of us, per se. And so the ability to process information faster will be very useful in a very informed world. But to hold on to it won't be as much, simply because we're developing new ways of storing information, new ways of communications. And at one point, scarily, humans won't need to remember anything at all. So our world is kind of graduating along with us as we grow.
You want to remember anything? Oh man, that works well for me. But I found a quote here. It says, kids today have more in common with their global peers than they do with adults in their own country. Diversity will be the expectation of Generation Z. Is that true? Do you find yourself having more in common with your global peers?
I feel as if all young people going through the same phase of adolescence have the same mindset, considering the world that we grew up in right now. And particularly the job space, the workforce of every country, is becoming more diverse in age, nationality, gender, everything. So I don't think it necessarily relies on our generation or the millennials or the one before them, but rather but rather the actual connection and the intertwining of them to actually bring about a good product or a good workspace. You understand? So just coming together to a common goal to achieve the same purpose.
Do you feel more connected and plugged into your peers elsewhere in the world?
Well, ironically, the world is getting smaller. We hear it every day. And with that being said, because everything is so standardized, because we have access to the same technologies, and those technologies, which are standardized, feed us the same information. On a psychological level, we are being exposed to the same things, and we're being kind of connected by the common pool of information that we access. So, in a sense, I do feel more connected to my peers in other countries, simply not because we have some cultural things in common, but because socially we operate on the same platforms, on the same Facebook, the same Twitter, the same Instagram.
And that ties into something that I dealt with it on the show last week, and it's something that has probably been around for as long as kids have been around, and this whole issue of bullying.
Wow.
But it has gone to another level now thanks to social media. But I have to ask you, is this issue of bullying as serious as we see it as adults, or are we not sort of tuned in to what is really happening?
I think it's very serious, considering that the track record shows, the scoreboard shows, children, adolescents, people have actually killed themselves over the things that people say to them over the internet. Content moderation also is a very big key in that. But at the same time, we have to understand the tools that we receive from these innovators and technologists, that it is what you make it. So if you don't use it in the appropriate way, then it's going to be harmful to the same detriment of the same children, the teenagers who have lost their lives due to this cyberbullying.
I want us to bring back our conversation a bit to where we started with all of this. As you prepare now to leave high school to go on to further your education, and however far that takes you, is the Bahamas today the country that you want to return to or will return to?
Well, personally, I've always been of the opinion that the Bahamas today is what I make it. And it's up to me, and I bear personally the burden along with my generation, which I try to encourage, that we are the movers and the shakers, and nothing, I don't believe anything that we want can be accomplished if we wait on others to accomplish it for us. And that's the problem we've been facing. We expect everything to fall into our laps, and we don't expect us to get up and do something about it and to actually be responsible for the part and playing a part in the country that we want to see.
But what about those who are and continue to be a part of that brain drain? I mean, we would have heard in the last segment, the best and the brightest go off and they don't come back.
I feel a big problem because of that is that the main development and infrastructure and everything has been closed into New Providence, right? And if you don't own a restaurant or a lawyer or a doctor or own a hardware store, then you can't really stay here.
T-shirt store down.
Or t-shirts store down. So you see, I feel like it's a lack of diversity in job descriptions and the industry. So I feel like if we have a diversification of the industries in the Bahamas, besides just tourism and banking, then it opens more doors and opportunities to people who go off abroad to study, these diverse majors, and then come back home to what, so they don't really have the same old. So I feel as if, that's what needs to happen.
We're just about out of time, so I'm going to ask you to end on this, and I'm going to ask both of you the same question. What do you want your Bahamas to look like by the time you get to my age, which is in your 40s? What do you want for the Bahamas? What do you want this country to be? And hopefully you'll look back on this and go, but what do you want the Bahamas that you live in today to be like for you by the time you get to my age?
Well, I believe that we don't have to maintain the idea that bigger is better, that what we see abroad could actually apply to our country. I believe the Bahamas is very unique for a multitude of reasons. And if we could develop our country keeping in mind our uniqueness, we can do great things. I see a new Bahamas. I see a Bahamas that's developed infrastructurally as well as socially and culturally, where we can boast of a more diverse and an accepting culture of multiple people who collectively build a new country. I see a Bahamas that is developing alongside its marine life and its coastal beauty and its natural beauty. I see a Bahamas that's balanced. That's what I want.
I feel like Singapore is a good example of a third world country transitioning into the characteristics of a first world country. And I feel like the Bahamas has an amazing potential to become a first world country. It's just that we have to put our heads down, tunnel vision, and try to create more opportunities for Bahamians, and at the same time keep ownership. Ownership is a very big problem that we face, because if you own what you create, then no one can take it from you, and the government can then maximize profits and take that into putting into infrastructure, education, new industries, new opportunities for Bahamians. So I feel as if in the next, I would say 20 to 50 years, if we could stay on that path, the Bahamas will be a mecca in the Caribbean.
Gentlemen, I have to tell you that based on what all four of you presented here today, if we have more of you, we certainly are poised to be on the right path. I want to encourage you to continue to excel, continue to make yourselves proud and this country proud. I mean, I have to say that this has been a great discussion for me and an eye-opener. And I appreciate that you all took the time to reach out. And I have to say, to reach out to me to ask to come on the show. A lot of people ask me to come on the show. I politely tell them no, depending on what it is. But I thought this was important for you to come on and to talk and to express yourselves. And, you know, I'm comforted knowing that there is a generation and a group within this generation that is concerned, that does love the country, that does want to see better, and certainly are positioning yourselves to do better. So I wish you the best of luck. All the best to you in your studies. Thank you again for coming on the show. And I hope in a few years we'll sit down again to talk about this. And I certainly hope that this is not the last time the public gets to hear from you. Because I think it's important that my generation and older even stop and listen. Sometimes we think that we have all the answers when we don't. All right, so again, thank you very much. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Again, I want to thank all of my guests today, Kai Duncombe, Jordan Desmangles, Charles Hamilton Jr., and Caden Mott. Thank you very much to these young men who have certainly represented themselves and our country very well. Also, thank you to my producer and my technical staff. A very, very special thank you to the management and staff here at Lewis & Steen's New Orleans Coffee House for kindly allowing us use of the space and for looking after us today on this broadcast. We certainly appreciate their hospitality, and certainly I have to put in a shameless plug. If you're passing by and you've got some time, please stop in and enjoy all that they have to offer, including the great view. So on behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.